All right.
Boy.
I like those buttons.
Okay, I'm going to bring this meeting of the Acton Rec Committee to order, 20th of February. We're going to do the pledge to the flag.
28th February. Smart.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. So let's quickly just run through the attendance. Start at the far end, Brian.
Brian Avery. Cushman Phillips.
Lori Clark. Lisa Long.
John Botel.
Chris Whitman.
Carol Comas of Boomway.
And we have an apology in from Bridget Whitman. She can't make it today because of a clash. So Carol has agreed to take the minutes for this meeting, which is great. So first real item on the agenda is the minutes of the last meeting. Has everybody seen them? Do they have a copy of them? Just to quickly run through.
Oh, that's it. Here they are.
I looked at him at home anyways.
Yep.
Just let me know when you've all had a chance to look through them.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Unanimously carried. I'd just like to quickly go through, because I don't think we've really done this in any of the meetings before, just quickly recap through the minutes for just ticking off the points that were meant to be actioned, just so, you know, it's all checks and balances. Just quickly reading through the kind of things that we needed to do. First one was speaking to the selectmen regarding the warrant regarding fundraising. I did that last week, and I think it was circulated, and it looked okay for everybody.
Yeah.
So from now on, we should be able to fundraise, and anything that we raise over and above what's already budgeted for, we'll be able to spend within that capital year,
As long as that warrant article gets approved. at
as long as that warrant
town meeting.
article gets approved by the town meeting. Yeah, exactly. So there's that point done. Extra set of keys, Chris. Did you manage to get down there to get those done?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we have the extra keys. Make it so that everybody can post on the rec page. We looked into that. Actually, everybody should already be able to post on the rec page.
No,
No.
that is not true. There's
No?
no way to post. It says, like I tried to post, I was on the phone with Bridget.
Yeah.
She said, try to post something, try to post something. It says it went to an admin for approval. She never got the thing to approve it.
We turned that off though, because we turned off the what do you call it? Monitoring, and it should just automatically. I'll look into it again.
I can try it again, but
Yeah.
we tested it and it wasn't working when we tested it unless,
The only option I had when I was trying to post the flyers
Yeah.
was to send a message.
That's weird. Because I looked into I don't have full admin, only Bridget has the full admin on it. I'm a editor or something like that on it, which gives me about the same rights as anybody else on it.
so the
Yeah.
other thing that's
Not much
hard, and
use.
this is the conversation I had with Bridget about it, is in not having, like, the ability, like you as an editor, if you're at the ice rink, you can
Yeah.
go live and it says
Yeah.
Acton Recreation is live. you
Yeah.
know, and there you are. You know, if I'm at a baseball skills and drills clinic and you or
Yeah.
Bridget isn't there, we can't go live on the rec page.
Yeah, I think you should be able to do that. I'll look into it again because it should be anybody should be able to post on that page.
Yeah, she's looking now and it's not.
Is it not? I'll look into it again.
It's
and-
hard because you
wanna
have
look
those
at it from-
permissions, so you can't
from
see
our
what we're
point?
seeing.
This is
Ye-
what we see.
All right.
It just, your only option is to send a message. You can't,
All right. Okay. I'll look into it
can't
again.
even, oh, I guess you can comment now.
Before you couldn't
That's
even
new.
You
comment.
couldn't comment? I looked at all the things on it. as well. Well, I wasn't looking at, to be fair, I wasn't looking at that page because I don't have access to that page. Maybe I'll try to get with Bridget and just sit down and go through it.
No, this is the Akron recreational page.
Okay, so that still needs to be sorted out. We'll work on that. Acton Rec page posting issue. I'll sit down with Bridget and between us we'll figure it out and get it worked out. Because as I say, I don't actually have access to the back office to see it. Only Bridget and Chris do. Yeah, all right. Hopefully you'll get it done before Christmas. Okay, I think the other thing was to remove old committee members from the committee page. I definitely did that, so they're gone. It's only the current committee that are in there. And, okay, I think that was basically the points, kind of actionable points that we needed to do from last time. So, I'm not sure there is any updates, Carol, but if there's any kind of treasurer's report.
There really isn't anything. I haven't heard a thing.
Yeah, I don't think we've,
I mean, Lisa, nothing's changed since last time. You know,
Yeah.
we ordered the baseball equipment, and to my knowledge, oh, the only other thing was that Michelle had asked for receipts from basketball.
Okay.
Bridget turned them in.
okay,
Bridget gave me a report, but it needs to be tweaked a little bit before it gets distributed. It wasn't really clear. Like, when I read it, I'm like, what is this? You know, like, it didn't work, right? So Bridget and I will work on getting that so that it makes sense, and then we can distribute but basically, during basketball, the rec stand made about 140, I think, dollars, which is pretty much what I expected, because you've got to earn back the 200 that we started with,
Sure.
and then plus 140.
Okay.
And the concession stand for basketball they were only there for like an hour,
Yeah.
probably, due to lack of volunteers a night, you know, so that's actually pretty well. We were hoping to break even.
okay, so we were like $140 up on that?
Up,
All right,
yeah.
great. Okay, perfect. Fourth point on the agenda, where are we with the baseball signups now, Lisa? How are we doing?
They're slowly starting to roll in. I know I was up here for a couple of hours with Bridget last Thursday, I think it was. And we had like 5 parents sign their kids up, and a few of
Okay.
them signed up 3 kids apiece, so that was good.
Okay,
I'm kind of playing with the idea of doing another in-person sign up, just, why not? When am I out? Just a little time.
What do you think you have for total kids?
So far? Probably around 20.
Is the amount we had last year?
I'm sorry?
What did we have last year?
I don't know what we had last year.
I think it's, we had around 50. Does that sound about right? 50,
roughly.
right around? But I think it's still premature to,
Oh, yeah.
I think the trouble is when there's snow on the ground like this, nobody's thinking about baseball.
yeah, and I was at a birthday party Saturday, and all the parents were like, ooh, I gotta do that, ooh, I gotta do that, like they were all talking about it, so
I think once we
it's
start seeing
coming.
a bit of melt, then
Yeah, then people start to think baseball.
And the clinics, I think, will help with
Yep.
signups.
Well, when I was speaking with Michelle regarding the warrant thing, because I was looking backwards at the budget from last year and what we had budgeted for, because it wasn't a line item budget last year, it was just kind of all lumped together. We're around about, in terms of receipts, about $1,800 away from where we expected to be without obviously having the baseball signups. So we're probably going to be just about where we budgeted for
Yeah,
in terms of
1,800?
yeah, something like that. I think it was 17. I can't remember the exact number. I did have it written down. I think it was like 1790 or something. We were light, but we should be pretty close, I think.
We'll be close.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good estimate. So hopefully we'll be, similar again.
Did the flyer for the clinics go out?
It got sent to the school. Whether or not it got sent home, I'm not sure. My kids didn't bring it home,
I've not seen it. None of my kids.
but yeah, it got sent. I'm gonna see if there's any possibility of me maybe standing at the door and passing them out on the way out to the bus or something. I don't know what the school will think about that, but I can
Yeah,
ask.
because the school have their own, softball team?
They do. They do. Yep, they have a softball team and a baseball team.
Oh, they have baseball as well?
Yep.
Okay.
But they're participating in those clinics.
They are invited to, yeah.
I wonder whether we can get a slot at one of the Friday assemblies.
It's a good idea.
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, because all the kids are always there.
I'm
And they-
sure Bridget will do that with you.
Yeah,
if you
and I
don't
know they
feel
always
like
forget to,
yourself.
my kids always forget to give me anything, so unless we're hunting through the bags, we never know about
Yeah.
anything.
Well, I know our teacher sends them in the, if anything like that comes through, it comes in the plastic.
I know
Enclosure once a week usually.
what Friday folder, I think is
Yeah,
what second
so
grade has.
hopefully by this Friday, I would think. What, did you bring them?
I brought them last
Last week sometime, so.
Thursday or Friday.
So, if not by Friday, I would definitely contact the school by the weekend.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get just 2 minutes in the assembly just to talk about the clinic.
Yeah, they're busy with getting back.
All right, thanks, Lisa, that's great.
Yeah.
Know where we are there. When's the deadline for signups?
March 28th.
Okay, just so I know. Still plenty of time. Okay, item 5 on the agenda is the summer fair. And the only reason I bring it up is because I did go and see Jen to talk about what licenses or anything we may need. And pretty much she said, you don't really need anything. The town insurance will take care of everything in terms of the things that are going on there. They just need to have a list of everything we're planning beforehand so that they can run it past the insurance and get everything cleared. But she pretty much said, unless it's going to be serious numbers, we don't really need anything. No special licenses or permits. So it surprised me, to be honest. I thought we would have to have something, but it came down from her. So really we need to, and this isn't to really go through now. I think we have more important things to go through right now, but did I hand it out? Yeah, the summer fair thing. That was just my list of things that I kind of threw together. It's by no means set in stone or even anything like that. It's just a suggestion that we can start with and add to or take away from. So pretty much just have a look at it, think about it, and we'll come back and look at it next week and add to it or take away from it. I think pretty much the food we can be self-sufficient with everything that we've got budgeted for in terms of the grill and the hot dog steamer. We'll have that. Did we say we'd budgeted for a popcorn machine as well? So we've got kind of the 3 of those. We just need to go and then pick up some candy. And I would imagine that would be where we're going to make a reasonable amount of the revenue to allow us to keep it free entry to everybody. But yeah, have a look at that, have a read through, and let's address it at the meeting next time and see if we can add to it, and then give Jen a list to run past the insurance, and then we can know what we can and what we can't do. So this is going to be the longer term. The longer discussion is the long-term plans for where we're going to go, where we want the rec to go. And Carol kindly put out, did you give a copy of this to everybody,
Yes.
Carol? You did? And I've kind of got a duplicate version there with some stuff that I've been playing around with.
So in the one I handed out, I just added the things that you had messaged.
Oh, right, yeah, I've got them in there as well. But
Wonderful.
I put in a couple of extra things here.
Oh, nice. I see that.
So we're scheduled in for the agenda for the selectmen's meeting tomorrow to discuss, and basically all I've told them is that it is for discussing with them what our long-term plans are.
Yeah.
Because obviously, now I want to get the name of the building. It's George Mead Building, is that right?
Yes.
Right, okay. If they are kind of in agreement that would be a good idea for us to take over that, it changes what the plan will be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first port of call, because if they say no way, that's got to be for whatever emergency service building, then we know if we want to have a rec building, it's going to have to be down here at the field somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's a much bigger project that we've got a budget for much longer term.
Yeah.
We're talking about having to clear land.
So I did reach out, John, we had talked to, I think, in a parking lot somewhere when I saw
Sure.
you. Somewhere, about me reaching out to a couple of our citizens that are involved heavily in our community. In, I just want to read off some of the feedback that I got from them. One of them thought, you know, a community, if it was like the George Meade Community Center, that would be a good thing, that it's not strictly just for the recreation department. You know, a big amount of feedback was, you know, more of, similar to what other towns do, where it's not just, it's servicing children, it's servicing
Sure.
the whole community. And then some of the other things, I guess is to get a good understanding of what it's being used for right now, other than storage and parking. And, you know, they did throw out a couple of alternative ideas as far as, you know, let's say, I know they want to sell that boat, but I'm just going to use the boat for an example.
Okay.
You know, if they were concerned about a place to park the boat, you know, maybe they could park it down at the town shed. There's some extra stalls in the garage down there, or shed down there, or, you know, just to really, instead of saying this property belongs to the road department, this property belongs to the fire department.
It's just
this-
a town
It's
property.
all town property,
Yeah.
and that was the consensus. I talked to, you know, probably a half a dozen different people of all ages, and that was pretty much the consensus, that they would like to see the town move in that direction, that it's town property instead of a department's piece of property, because it's not. So that was one thing that was reiterated over and over. Another thing that was brought up is this hall, because this is really all we've got, right, in lieu of. So if the Owls want to have a lunch, or if somebody wants to do whatever, this is the only hall-type space
Yep.
there is available. And some of the things that they've said is that, you know, there's unsafe conditions, including the use of the kitchen. There are mouse droppings everywhere. And I can vouch for that when I did my cupcake wars. Lori, you were there. All the drawers are full of mouse droppings. All the dishes are full of mouse droppings. It's very unsanitary. And it doesn't seem like they can stay on top of it. I think they've tried, and it's just an issue. And and like I said, I don't know if this is true, because I'm not familiar with this facility. But somebody said that there's no safe drinking water in this building, and like I said, I don't know if that's true.
In this building?
Yeah, is that true? That is true? Okay. So I guess this water's not tested drinkable. Huh?
High salt content in both the wells that are up there.
Okay. The other thing is the kitchen sinks don't drain properly. There was a consensus that they should shut this hall down for private use, in fear of a lawsuit. Like I said, I think that's a little extreme, but I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. And then they also talked about the gym building, and the fact that, would it be possible in this community center to set a room aside for that gym equipment? I don't know, I'm not familiar with the layout, but
Yeah.
they say that this gym here is, they use the word deplorable, I don't know. Mold, water leaks,
It doesn't
broken
look great.
equipment, you know, blah, 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 blah. So, and then they also, one person came to me with a vision that I thought was really cool, was, if we did make that the George Meade Community Center, to put a fence up between, to have, this is what they said on it here, replace the oversized doors, you know, get rid of those, add a fence between the fire department building and the public safety building, which is what it's currently referred to.
Yep.
Add a curb cut on Sanborn Road, thus keeping parking cars and pedestrians out of the way of the fire department.
Yeah, that's
So that was a
kind of what I
pretty,
showed in the images here. There's about room from what I've seen from the car park here, for around about parking for 21 cars in that area. That's not taking all of it, it's still leaving
Yeah.
some greenery around it. And obviously not putting a fence in there, but it certainly contains it away from the emergency services.
and then the other thing, you know, they say, and like I said, I personally have never been inside the building, so this is
yeah.
just from talking to people, that the building itself is large enough to house a recreation area, a gym, also, you know, kind of a senior center type thing. and some meeting rooms. And that's one of the things that the senior citizens really keep saying over and over, you know, is that they don't have a place to do their gatherings. You know, they would like to be able to hold a bridge night or this or that,
Yeah.
and it's
And all it
not.
needs to be is a space, really. I mean, if it's a rec center, if you know, if there is a pool table in there or a foosball table, if it's just pull it to the side or off to an area to the side, and then you've got open areas for using for anything, really.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, Chris is in the process of trying to track down the bingo supplies.
Oh, right,
Oh, they
yeah.
sold it. Okay, he got an answer for me.
Like, it can't cost more than $50 for bingo supply, sure.
Well, they had the real
had
deal.
just
They
a
had the
little-
real,
Board and.
yeah.
Oh, they had a big thing.
Oh, no, it was a nice
Yeah.
setup. They did it to raise money to build that building.
Ah, right.
So, and then, you know, just the history of that building, I think, you know, some people, you know, don't know this, but that the building was built with private funds raised by this community and was gifted to the town of
Yeah.
Acton with a 99-year lease when we went from a volunteer to a full-time department and the ambulance and fire department merged. A couple of people said, you know, if this is something that the board is willing to pursue, then we should come up with a cost and get it added to the warrant as a bond or something like that, to build the fence and the driveway and the
Yeah,
the this
I mean,
and the that.
I guess the first step
Let the
is
townspeople
running
decide.
it by the selectmen to see if, number one, it would just be a feasible idea. Because then at least we'll be able to get in there to see what we're working with, without knowing what's there. I mean, I just threw this up because I have no idea what's inside that building. It's all guesswork and gives you a rough idea of the space that's available in there. But there's certainly enough room for, you know, I was just thinking kids, because I don't know what's going on under this left-hand side. I'm guessing that there's space right under here as well.
That comes up here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then it's an office space up above, and there's storage, I believe, under here.
So, oh, at the back?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I say, it's all guesswork until we actually get in there and see it, but I would imagine there's plenty of room in there for that. There's no kitchen facilities or anything there right now, right?
I don't think so.
I don't know the answer to that.
No.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I'm fairly certain there's bathrooms.
There's a bathroom.
That's
the
a start.
office, like the meeting room is upstairs.
Kitchen.
And then I
I thought
think
someone said
underneath,
there was a whole kitchen in there, but I
Do we
Meeting
happen
room
to know,
is
is it a full ceiling upstairs or is it like a mezzanine?
it's a full ceiling, but it's short, or something's wrong with, we're code to have like a group gathering there
Right.
other than a meeting.
I believe that code enforcement said something about the upstairs not being good for much other than storage,
Or
if I
meeting.
remember correctly. Yeah, I think that's what when I asked him about it, that was his
Okay.
response.
That's a shame.
So at
But
this,
then you've got to know also that that doesn't mean that it can't be fixed down the
Oh, yeah.
road,
Right.
you know? It's just,
but do we bring this forward as a rec center or a,
Well,
we're the
yeah.
rec board, so how do you go from it being, trying to
So
bring
I
it as
did-
rec versus?
I did talk
much
to a
more.
couple other towns that have recreation centers, community centers, they're called both things, and they both serve the same purpose. I think it's just, it could be called a rec center. I mean, because the rec isn't just kids. The recreation department in all towns is for the community, you know, and it's just a kind of mincing words between the two, whatever you think sounds prettier, is what, you know, I heard from a couple of towns. You can
True.
call it whatever you want, you know, but if, you know, it all serves the same purpose. It's a space for the community, you know, to do things, whether it's for the kids, whether it's for the seniors, whether it's for, you know, you and I, Girl Scouts, whatever,
Yeah, I mean,
you
there's
know?
there's so many different purposes it can serve. And
Yeah.
if you're right, if this, you know, and you can only assume that you are, this place is not the greatest, particularly with the cooking and catering facilities.
There's another town that's proposing a rec center this year to their town meeting for the price of $7 million, so.
Ouch!
Yeah, I saw the plans for it, it's extraordinary.
I'll bet.
Sure it is.
So I'm like, oh, that's more than our whole budget for the whole town.
I'm assuming it was a bigger town.
No, population of 4,500, it's just a wealthier town.
Wow.
Okay.
Much
Um,
wealthier.
So, as I said, we're scheduled in for tomorrow to bring this up. I mean, we'll go through everything else as well. But I suppose that the question is, are we going to push forward heavily trying to get this George Mee building based on the conversations that you've had with the rest of the community?
So, there have been, I think we need to decide as a committee, you know, I have not gotten one negative feedback, you know, from people I've talked to, whether it be town officials or, citizens. I think it's something that is very needed by all of the demographic groups in this town. I think if we're going to present it tomorrow night, we need to go into that selectmen's meeting with a plan of exactly what our vision for the building would be and how we would protect the fire department, because, I mean, nobody wants to,
No.
infringe on the fire department, because they're definitely,
Yeah, no, that area has to be
Important.
kept completely
Yeah.
separate and clear.
so
Now,
how
what-
can we do this, you know, to have the least impact on them, you know? Definitely would want to work with them.
So, yeah, it's-
We're not sure how much they use that building at this point anyways, correct?
as far as we know, it's pretty much just for storage.
I did ask the
Talked about this a
the
little bit.
selectmen about it, like what it's used for now.
Yep.
And I was given the answer storage, you know, mostly storage. That's why I said, well, I think it's
Some-
just storage,
Some
is what I was.
CPR things here and there, but the majority of it's really not being used to do much.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, if you even take a step back and you think about how that building was built 15 years ago, or whenever it was built, I don't know the year, Chris might know, because his grandfather spearheaded it, but, this community, you know, built that building. You know, it would be the best
Seems kind of
solution. It's fitting, it's
yeah.
fitting that, you know, it wasn't built by tax dollars. It was built by fundraising. And to me, what better use for it than for the community? Because they're the ones that built the building.
Certainly is a large amount of space that ought to be used for something. If it's not being used, if they don't need it for, like we talked about before, for whatever they're using. If they don't need the space, it ought to be done something with.
I mean, let's say they use it to
We
hold
certainly
first aid
can't
and
afford to build a
CPR
rec center
classes,
anyplace.
just for
So,
example, let's
not
say
They could
very
still
well.
do that
They
and
could still do
schedule
that.
it on, off
Just schedule it
different
on the
days,
board, you
yes.
know?
Yeah.
But then would it still be a rec department if we're talking about making it into more of a hall like this, and is it still considered the rec that would be doing all that, or would that be like a whole nother board, I guess is?
Well, I mean, some towns have, yes.
How would people
I mean,
know
that's
when
a
they could use
huge-
it or couldn't use it, as far as if they wanted to go do bingo?
Well, I guess
or-
it would be booked through here.
So
It
are
would
we
probably be
bringing
booked
this
through here.
towards them
Through
as
the
the rec
town.
center? That's what I meant to say, like, are we bringing it towards as the rec center for the recreation stuff, or a
I would
bigger vision for
Community center for,
bring it as a community.
so much more than that?
Well, I mean, it would be beautiful in our utopia to have a building just for us, right? But it's Acton, and
Yeah.
I don't think that we warrant that at this point in the game.
Well, the
you
other
know?
thing is, I mean, if we were only using it, say, one evening a week, or maybe even 2 evenings a week, it seems, it's almost as redundant as them using it for storage in that case. It seems much more sense to open it
Oh,
up
no,
to the
no,
whole
I agree,
community.
but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, is that still, if you're talking about so much bigger, making it so much bigger, is that something that,
I don't know, I guess somebody's got to bring it to them.
Yeah, so if you think about, if, like, most rec departments are a park and rec, you know, and they handle, like, most, like, towns, we'd have, like, the Mary Grant as, under our umbrella, and we'd have the park up on the hill and the Romac under our umbrella, and, you know, if we were a true parks and rec department, and maybe someday we will be, we never know, but,
gotta get a lot bigger.
we gotta get a lot bigger and a lot more volunteers, right? Because, you know, whatever.
The other point is, I believe, and I can't even venture a guess as to where I saw it, but I believe I saw at one time a definition of the recreation department in Acton, and it was not about kids and sports. It was about, providing recreation for all citizens of Acton in whatever form that might come in. You know, whether it be, you know, I want to learn how to do CPR, you know, that's technically like, it could be a recreational
Oh,
type
yeah,
thing.
no doubt.
Sometimes it does go along with your work, I get that, but it could just be, you know, I want to learn how to do it for Girl Scouts, or, you know, whatever. So, and at one time, it was also incorporated in the, Dennis, help me remember. The Recreation Department was incorporated in the comprehensive plan. So, I think that it's not just,
Just to
the
add to
Recreation
that,
Department isn't just about,
it is in the comprehensive plan that was voted on and accepted by this town, to have a recreation center or a community center in the future. That was something that was listed in the comprehensive plan.
This seems
And
like the
I can-
ideal solution, really.
Yeah, right, when they formed the rec committee, originally, this is what, what they adopted August 13th of 96. It talks about, it was called the Acton Sports Committee instead of the rec committee at that time. And, under duties, it says, this committee shall be responsible for establishing and running various sports programs for adults and youth of Acton. So it was kind of geared more towards sports back then, but it was for adults and kids, not just kids.
wasn't the sports committee grouped together with another,
The
what is now a
Conservation Committee.
separate, the Conservation Committee?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then,
We're grouped with the
they're here,
Conservation
it's to
Committee?
change the name from the Conservation Rec Committee to a Sports Committee. So they kind of floundered the first couple of years.
Yeah,
First they
flip-flopped
put them together
around.
with the Conservation Committee, then they separated them, and then they, they bounced back and forth about it.
Okay, let's try to get down into fine details, because we've only got, a little while till we have to meet
Do
them
you have
tomorrow.
another one of those?
Oh, sorry, yeah, there's one
Did I
knocking
write
around
on
here
mine?
somewhere.
I didn't write on mine.
Or maybe I didn't print off that many of
At
those.
least he can-
You got one there, Brett? So if we proposed a fence along the edge of where the car park line is now, like along here,
Yep.
that would not take anything away from the fire department, and it would just stop essentially access to that building from this parking lot.
You could always
Or
put a
access to
gate.
that parking lot from this
Yeah,
building. would be
exactly. Yeah.
The bigger selling point, I think.
You
Yeah.
could always put a gate there too, to open it up. So you have like,
Yep. I mean, if the longer term plan is to kind of block in these large doors anyway, then there's really no point in having access from that point anyway, because all the access
Right.
will be from this back, what is the backside now. So hopefully, presenting that will address that from a safety issue. I suppose the bigger question is, what can we pitch them that we can offer? And I think we just need a list of things that we could offer. In terms of, obviously, there's open space, but in terms of specifics for, the seniors, the adults, and the kids.
So off the top of my head, I know it would definitely lighten the load on the school and how much we have to ask to use their gym at different times. I'm not saying it would take it away completely, but it would certainly make
Okay.
it significantly less. We could offer just general recreation, someplace for our kids to go when there's nowhere else to go, when we don't have any sports running or,
Yeah,
school's not in session. It's a meeting space for pretty much anyone in the community.
Is that big enough to be able to put a basketball court in it?
I don't think it's quite that
No, I
big.
I don't know.
No, I don't
So
think
the
so.
only thing that we're using at the school is really for basketball at this point.
Well, like
So we could
Lisa's
do
skills and
drills and
drills, she
skills
could have
and
done
drills
there.
and stuff, but we
and,
can't, still would have to use the basketball.
Well, this
We
thing-
could probably do some stuff with basketball practices for the younger kids. We could probably put some hoops
Yeah.
in there against the wall, to practice with, like, the kindergartners.
You could do it one
Definitely
side.
could have all their practices there.
They almost could
Um,
have games there.
You might be able, they,
I mean, if we're using half court, that half court is tiny.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So K through 2 probably could really utilize it if it had a couple. And it would be nice to have a half court that had the lines where they were supposed to be, too.
Well, there's other things. There's other things like Odyssey of the Mind, which are currently, I think, using here and the school.
I don't know where
Yeah,
they
you could do
are. I know they're at the
basketball
school,
like
but
that.
I don't know where else.
Yeah.
It would be
They're definitely in
super
here.
nice to be able to hold more than one practice a week, to have 2 practices a week or something like that. I mean, especially once you
The
get up
older
into the
kids, for
older
sure.
kids. If we weren't using the gym for basketball for K through 2, that would be a second practice for the 3 through 6th grades. you know, and that would be
Yeah,
huge.
I suppose for things just like drills rather than
Yeah.
games, you know, certainly it's going to be big enough maybe for one and even two
Yeah.
teams. So it allows us for extra practice.
Yeah, because our basketball program is short.
Mm.
We miss a lot for holiday concerts, snow days, you know,
Yeah.
different things. And then it's like always, you know, we're sharing the gym with the school team. So this day they've got a game. So this grade, you know, we have to double up on practices. And we really get we either need an alternative or we need to extend our basketball season next year, one or the other, because our kids
Yeah,
get
why
really
can't we
short
extend
change.
that? Kind of off
Could do
topic,
it
but why
later,
can't we
force
extend that?
teams to play.
Is there a
It's
reason?
definitely something that we need to look
Especially
into.
start like practices before the games start and whatnot.
It's definitely something we need to
Well,
look into.
let's stick it in the minutes that we'll address it.
54
the-
feet long by 40 feet? The actual size of the building, 54 by 40?
That's using Google Maps, so I don't know how accurate that is.
Because it says 30 on
Yeah.
the side.
Yeah, it's 54 by 40 is roughly what I mapped the outside of the.
So why couldn't we see how much it would cost, or if it was even possible, if we did get this building, to reinforce upstairs, move this stuff upstairs and put downstairs a basketball court?
Yeah, I don't think that full area is open, the staircases.
Well,
and certain
like
stuff.
everyone else was talking about, we only do half court.
The half
anyway.
court
All right.
is very doable in that space,
So-
Brian.
Even, we probably could get almost 3/4 of a court out of it,
Oh, sure, yeah.
and we could play it like that,
Yeah.
and then we wouldn't have to bother the school constantly.
Well,
But we'd have to see if it's even possible, you know.
that's it. I mean, a lot of these
Architecturally,
suggestions
to see
are
if
going to
it's-
be very visionary, and it depends on when we get in there what we see. Because right now it's just a poured concrete floor, right? It's
Yeah,
That's
it's
Huh?
a,
yeah.
no, but it's a garage.
Yeah, it's effectively a garage.
It's essentially a garage with a couple meeting rooms and a bathroom,
Yeah.
you know,
So
basically.
I mean, it's an oversized.
It was designed to house the ambulance.
And a wheelchair van, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
okay, so then it's just a case of us figuring out.
All right, so recreation center for kids, in the sense that, to give them something to do.
Yeah, either on a weekend evening, just give them somewhere to go, something to do.
Or even if there was somebody, you know, if Lisa's off on Wednesdays and she wants to host an after-school club
Sure.
on Wednesdays there for the kids for a couple hours or something.
And it would be a place for us to offer
Summer
more
program.
things, like to, you know, outside of just the children, like we could maybe offer bingo or offer a knitting club or, you know, something.
Yeah, there you go, bingo, bridge.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of things that could be done in those spaces.
I really would like to put the word, you know, the phrase senior center as far as, I really think, we have a lot of senior citizens in this
Yeah.
community,
I mean,
a
it's-
lot.
Right, if somebody wanted to,
We could do a
If
summer
another-
program.
I don't wanna use the word committee, but another group of people, senior citizens or whatever, wanted to do
Yep,
bingo, pick
Yeah.
whatever you wanna say,
Yeah.
and they could get together and have a bunch of people that wanted to go, and then, I don't know if it could be handled through Jen's got more than enough to, but the town, so they would say, well, we come and bring up something that say, well, we wanna do the second Wednesday of whatever month, we'd like to be able to use the facility to do such and such, and okay, we go through the thing, oh, no one's using that, so great, you go in, you use it like you do here, you clean up, you go home, and,
Yeah.
I mean.
I
I
It's
mean, and
just
it
good to
doesn't
have-
necessarily have to be Jen. I mean, there could be an individual on this committee that
Right.
can handle this. I mean, like, let's say Lori, for example, she's an extremely organized person. You know, it could be, this is the email address, Lori's responsible for the email, you know, or whatever, requests. There could
Yeah,
be,
so
you know,
say
and
someone
Lori
wants to use it for
coordinates the schedule.
such and such a
You know,
date,
there
then-
could be a
Yeah.
person, that could be their position on the board, you know? It's just coordinating the
like the
schedule.
I think it would,
Liaisons or-
Liaison
Yeah.
to the rec center, and
mean-
that way it wouldn't be another thing on Jen's plate.
right, I don't know how to do it, but I'm just,
Yeah.
for example, I
Yeah.
think you'd find a lot more people in the town, of, all kinds of ages that would probably find,
Yeah.
something positive to do with it, rather
There-
than heat it year-round to not do much with it.
Yeah. There were a couple people that said, you know, if the selectmen approve this, please, you know, let me know. I'd love to help with the planning. I'd love to, you know. So I think we could get a group together outside of this committee that has ideas. You know, one of
And
them
that
is
would
really
show-
active with the
that would
seniors
show-
and another one's with the kids and,
That would justify our request to use it much
Just
more
playing,
than we just wanna use it for
basketball.
Sure.
Whatever,
Just playing devil's advocate
I don't know.
on those questions about for the senior citizens, things like bingo, things like bridge, whatever they want to use it for. Playing devil's advocate, the same could be said, then they could do that here and they haven't.
Well, I do know
Oh,
that they
that's
used
true,
to
too.
have like a luncheon here, I don't know if they still have it, but I know that a lot of them stopped coming because, they know you can't drink the water, they know there's mouse droppings in the kitchen, that, and you have to pay lots of times to use this hall. If it's a private organization, like if you want to have a baby shower here, you have to pay to use this
Sure.
hall. It's not available because of meetings. I mean, you try to get this hall on a Tuesday night to do something.
Sure,
You
yeah.
know, you can't. Meeting
It's a good
spaces,
point, though, I
y-
mean, it's a
you know,
valid
if I
point,
wanted to
for
host
sure.
bingo, I don't know when I'd use the hall.
I suppose that's the thing, it's during the day, and maybe at the weekends it's probably more available, but that's not really when they want to use it. They're probably more likely to use it in the evenings when there's so many different committees.
And I've tried to
Or
get this hall for like a Friday night for Girl Scouts,
Yeah.
and you look at that calendar. You can look at the calendar for a month, there might be one Friday available.
Right, okay.
Like, and Saturdays, people rent it for birthday parties, baby showers,
Sure.
stuff like that. It is hard to get this space
Well,
sometimes.
you've only got one, basically, there's
It's the
only
only thing
one
in
place
town.
there is, so, I mean,
Yeah.
you only go so far.
Okay, anything else we can think of? Is it big enough to
Run
hold,
Summer program there too, like a summer camp type thing.
yeah, like a craft and just thing for the kids, yeah?
Bridget did ask me to mention too, about just kind of expanding on the fact that our kids in Acton do not have anything to do, nothing,
In the
especially
summer.
the older kids. In Sanford, they have options, they don't have that here. Transportation is an issue.
What do they have for options in Sanford?
They have after-school clubs. They have a lot of, I know they have, like, a bunch of programs through the actual school department for after-school,
A lot of things going on through the church
youth
as well,
groups.
doesn't
All the
there?
churches there have, like, high school age youth groups, junior high age youth groups. They, Nassau Center has open gym times. There's a lot of stuff. I remember, and this was a while ago, and it's probably even better now, but I remember when my daughter was in Sanford, I remember we were trying to find things for her to do after school to occupy her. And the guidance counselor gave me like a 4-page list.
Yeah.
Like, take your pick. And it wasn't all stuff at the school, it was in the community.
A lot of towns have, I mean, Parks and Recs Department carry many, many paid positions too. Like Kennybunk has a huge Park and Recs. I can't even tell you everything they do. The director of it gets paid in the 6 digits. I mean, so,
Same in Molten Borough.
I mean, yeah, it's
Wakefield as well.
Wakefield.
so hard. I mean, 5 or 6 or 7 people can only do so much.
Yeah,
To get
and-
ahead of ourselves, I mean, a lot of the things like Sanford, I don't know what positions they have that are paid positions, but I'm sure they've got a lot more people
Oh, yeah.
to cover these things, so
So I
I
don't
don't know
think,
how you really.
I don't want to be misunderstood in thinking that I think that in any way we could offer anything to the level that any other town does. But I just think we should try to offer something.
I
Even
agree.
if it's one Saturday a month or, 2.
Well, I think definitely if that building is just pretty much being heating up a boat
Yeah.
that's not being used, then we can make a lot more use
The
of
boat's
it
warm.
with a minimal amount of interior work, really.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
they
it's-
agreed to let us use it, maybe they agreed to have the, I say let us, I don't mean it that way, let the town people use it on a limited time in the beginning and see if it works out, it doesn't work out, or something to that effect.
I guess it depends
we
on
don't
how
really
much
know.
work needs to be done inside to make it
So we
kind
need
of
to
usable.
bring a proposal to them tomorrow night. is
Yes.
what he's telling you.
We have to, because it,
I think just of a
So we
vision.
need just a list of the proposal to
Or at
bring to
least a
them
vision,
tomorrow
so
night.
right.
so that we can get their blessing to pursue it. And once we put it out there, like if they did give us their blessing, there are going to be people that have already said that they want to be part of it, like that are not on this committee, that
Oh,
want to
it
be part of
certainly
it.
would take
Yeah.
people to do that, I'm sure, I mean, it
Yeah.
would have to.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a lot.
Okay. Anything else? So far, I've got, obviously, it's going to lighten the load on the school. It will be a general kids recreation center, especially weekend, evening community center. It's going to be a meeting space. would allow us to have extra practice times for basketball. You could run bingo there, bridge nights. It's gonna,
dinners,
it's,
whatever.
yeah. It's-
The other thing is adult,
Be very careful.
fitness in some way, you know, like,
Yoga.
we've talked about,
Aerobics
Zumba,
or yoga
or,
Yeah.
you know, Lisa and I are like, oh, we know a Zumba instructor, we should definitely offer a Zumba program, but where are we gonna do it? You know, you really can't do it here, you know?
And you mentioned about the gym, that obviously that thing over there is
Yeah.
not well liked. I don't know whether there's space or whether we would be able to, but until
I
we,
personally don't think that gym would fit in the
I don't.
center, but,
No.
And that gym is, you have to pay for it.
yeah, it's different,
Totally
because this is
different.
something, you know,
You're talking, yeah, non or very minimum pay or
Yeah.
versus a big monthly payment for a
Yeah.
gym. I mean,
What is it,
I think
$10 a month or something?
it depends
I
if
think
you
it's different
volunteer.
levels.
All right. Well, I mean, let's just say that we were kind of approached, people not complaining, but mentioning the quality of the gym there, and if there was space available. We don't know, because we're not
It
in
could
there.
also be a goal for the future.
Yeah.
That,
You
yeah.
know,
Can always
you,
add on.
everything's gotta have a long-term plan, you know? Everything in this world, it depends on how it goes.
Well, it kind of makes sense to put it all in one place rather than have, you know, this hall, that gym, you know, put it all together in one place seems to make, and call it the community center, makes a lot more sense.
and they started the gym because it was another piece of property that wasn't being used for anything, so
That's
let's
right.
get
They
some
got a
money and
grant,
generate some
They got
money.
a grant
and-
and utilized a
Do they
vacant
make
piece
a
of
profit
property.
on the gym?
Can't
The gym
imagine.
doesn't pay for itself,
It does
last I
not?
knew.
You barely breaks
It does
even.
not break even.
Really?
Okay. Well, that certainly gives us at least something to say to them about where we want to take it and what we could offer there.
So I think that those things, to list out some of those things, and then to list out the plan with the fence, I think that's a big,
Yep.
you know, protecting the
Yes.
fire department and not, what did you say the word was? Encroaching?
Infringe.
Infringing on them at all. I mean, let's face it, they've got an important department. We don't want to interfere
I
with
think
that.
that's, I think that's first and foremost, is
Yeah.
the first thing we should say.
So we want to make sure, you know, no, and one of the things when, you know, the discussion first started about this building, that was one of the things, the first things that came to my mind was like, man, I don't want the fire department to think that we're taking something away from them, you know? But then, you know, a lot of people said, you know, it's the town's building, that's the community's building, you know? And if it's not being utilized in a way that, you know, warrants having the building. So you know, they kind of sold me on the idea, but I think at the meeting, it's important to say that, you know, we are really not looking to, you know, step on their toes, infringe on them, that we're looking a way to, you know, alternate
Yeah.
entrance, putting a fence up, you know, protecting their parking lot where it's not being, you know, I think it's important to stress that tomorrow night when we make
Sure.
our presentation to the
sure.
selectmen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Of all things, we want them to be able to get out of there in a hurry
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
worrying about us.
Yes,
Nobody wants a car parked in front of their doors.
Yeah.
So that's going to be one part of it, and probably that's going to cover the most of the discussion with them. But obviously, what they say from that point of view impacts what we do on the other side in how we're going to do things and what we're going to add to this capital improvement list. Because if they say, no way, that's the has to be public building, then we have to think about how we can do this same kind of program ourselves on rec land, so to speak.
Didn't we discuss how there was always an option to, if the selectmen didn't right away give us,
We can take it
We
to the
could-
town
we could
meeting by
petition
petition.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That not really an
ultimately.
option?
No, that is absolutely an option. It's always an option, you know, the thing to remember, you know, is that this town is governed by the people of this town, you know? And, at the end of the day, it's ultimately the town meeting's decision what direction this town goes in. That's why the town votes on all ordinances at town meeting. The comprehensive plan was decided at town meeting. And if, you know, by some chance, the Board of Selectmen says it's not something they're willing to investigate further, it is absolutely the right of this committee or any other citizen of this town to, you know, get a petition and get it put on the warrant.
Do we need any particular numbers on a petition to make it? onto
It's
the-
10% of the last
Gubernatorial.
gubernatorial election. So if 500 people voted in the last governor election, you need 50 signatures. You know, they
it?
have, yeah, it's 10% of the voters. For the petition, to get it put on the warrant for the town
to
meeting.
get it
It's,
looked
it's
at.
minimal.
Okay,
You know, I'm actually surprised that this town doesn't do that in more cases,
yeah.
to be honest.
Well, I mean, let's take it a step at a time.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the first step.
Right.
You know, you never know, maybe they'll just say that's a great idea, move forward with it, liaise with the fire department to get inside and have a look. Who knows? Let's take it a step at a time. But while we're there, we may as well let them know that we do have big plans.
Right.
And not just for that building, we have big plans for lots of other things. And Carol's brilliantly put this list together, which is...
And that list that I wrote is just honestly, and I put it in thing, it's every conversation I've had at a soccer game, at a baseball game.
It's
at the ice
everybody's
rink.
wish list.
Everybody's wish list. Everybody, whether any parent that said, you know what you really need is a scoreboard. You know, I really wish we had the sound system, which I forgot about, Sean. So I was gonna put it on there.
Before we wrap up the building, do we need to vote on whether or not to bring this to the selectmen?
Yeah.
Did we already
Thought we
do
did that
that?
last time,
I
last meeting.
I
think we
just wanna
actually
make
did it
sure
at
that
the...
we're,
Yeah, no, I think we did it at the last meeting, but I'm happy to take another...
I just wanna make sure that we've got all our bases covered, that's all.
Yeah.
Sure.
Repeat that, I'm sorry.
I just wasn't sure if, at this point, if we needed to vote on whether or not to take it to the selectmen, or if we already had done that at last meeting,
We
or-
did make that vote at the last meeting. It's not reflected in the minutes, I don't believe, but I do remember that taking a vote if we wanted to pursue it, because I
Yeah.
said we need to decide what we need to do. We all voted. It's just not reflected in the
Yeah,
minutes.
we definitely did vote on pursuing, taking over
That
this
should have been
building.
in the minutes, yes. I missed that when I,
We
So
should've-
why, it would probably.
It should have
just do
been,
it-
because if
We
there
should
was
say
3 or 4
just
people that couldn't have made it tonight
Do it
for some
again, so
reason.
it's on this minutes.
Sure.
and-
oh, excuse me for a second, but, the minutes
I don't
that
have,
I printed off, it's cut off, but on this, which is Bridget's email, so my printer cut the minutes off when I printed them. But he's got a print
Oh,
of
yeah.
the email, and it says Rec Center, George Meade Building to be converted into the Recreation Building.
Vote Carol Chris.
Carol Chris Committee. So
Yeah.
it didn't
All right, if
really
it's on there,
say,
then it's
go
not
to
a
the
big deal.
selectmen, but it is on there that we voted on.
I just wanna make sure we have all our.
Yeah, no, we need to make sure it's all covered. So if anybody has anything else to add to this list of improvements, I was intrigued by the tennis courts, because I hadn't even thought about tennis courts, because obviously the ones across the way, but I know they're private.
They're private,
Where?
Private?
yes.
Yeah,
You have to
cro-
pay.
Yeah, you have to be a member of the club.
And it's like,
It's insane. I think we tried to do it a couple times.
Yeah.
so we could do tennis lessons.
we wanted to do, I remember that, Bridget told me that.
So
They
wh-
wanted to do tennis lessons there for the rec, and we were gonna have to, pay a
And there's
good
only,
amount of
what,
money.
2 courts there, I think, or is there 3?
No, there's more than 2.
4.
There's 4.
There's 4, is it?
So one right across from the post office? there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta pay to use that?
Oh,
Absolutely.
you have to be a member of the
It's-
club.
It's something like Shapley Acton something,
Yeah,
something.
I thought that was a public thing.
It's not
People can
just
walk over there and
Acton.
decide.
Say that-
Tri-Town.
Tri-Town, there you go.
it's probably locked anyways.
So where were you envisaging? Somewhere up the back of the,
Oh, you gotta be careful, because you're in wetlands.
all of this as well, man?
Yeah.
So it's all EPA
Further
protected?
that way, too.
If we were to do a rec center, Chris and I had looked into we had looked at the zoning map at one time, where the wetlands are and this and that. The rec center would not be on the field side of our property. It would be on the
Garvin Road.
Garvin
Oh,
Road.
right over the other
Yeah,
side.
you guys Coming off the Garvin Road side.
And it would be a
it'd be like over in
expensive
here.
venture.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of the tennis courts.
Oh, tennis
Yeah,
courts.
because obviously this field is pretty much all utilized. If you put tennis courts in, you can't have soccer fields.
But you can put them right here. Take out part of that.
Well, you're not going to have, if you put them up in the corner here, you're only going to have room for maybe
What's that
2,
name?
1, 2.
Pickleball.
Huh?
Wait,
And then you have to keep in mind the parking, because the parking
all
already gets
wetlands.
pretty hairy to
Right.
begin with.
Right, do we have, did
Well, unless-
anyone ever look into how many people we're supposed to have for parking? I mean,
So
Could open up this
we're, one of the things that's on the capital list of things that we want to do is to expand the parking. And we had talked about making some additional parking on the far side of the field,
So that would-
because there is an entrance
So that
in the
would be on this
fence.
end.
On the far side, not the
which
side we
is
park.
not wetland?
No, it's wetland
Right.
behind.
Because it was, I think it was back, all filled in at one point.
Yeah, so that was cleared at one time and was supposed, you look and you'll see another gate down there. They they clear cut that, and that was supposed to be additional parking down the road. But then, you know, that particular committee that put the field in kind of fell to the wayside and it overgrew.
And wasn't that something that you were gonna look into for the, summer thing that you wanna do, is how many people we can have there at a time? And how many parking spaces? I mean, I know any business, you have to have a certain amount of parking spaces per patron, so I
Yeah.
would think that would, even though it's town, it would have to have the same thing.
Yeah.
John, did they mention that when you?
Nope, they didn't mention, I'm assuming they were thinking that most people were gonna, I don't know, park up on the road, I guess.
No, you can't park
Which is
on the
pretty
road.
darn dangerous
But-
in that road.
But I think that, I mean, we can think about it later. But one idea is, if let's say the church wanted to take part in it along with us, and we had a trolley going back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be
We've
nice.
talked about that in past things, like having have some activities, and they're having some activities, and having a free trolley, so you can utilize the parking here. You know, there's ideas, but it's definitely something, the parking needs to be on our 5-year plan. That's like one of the top priorities, I think, personally.
We've got that,
But
we have
going
that down.
forward
here.
for the summer thing is also something we need to find out about too,
Yeah.
so, before we go forward with
Yeah.
that.
Well, what's to the right and the left of the field?
What do you mean?
Whose land is to either side of the part that's not wetlands? Behind it is all wetland.
Yeah, behind it, up here is all
Now,
wetland.
to the
but
right-
Is the
This is
retaining
ours, this is private property on this side, this is a house right here.
Okay.
But
And we
it's-
why
own
it's
all the
pie
way
shaped.
back to that
Garden.
Garvin Road. The one that has the
Yeah, which
Wilson Lake
is-
sign that goes across, we
And it
own
goes
all
like
the way
this.
back.
Which you really can't connect to any of the back of the
You could-
field because of the wetlands.
Because of the wetland.
But how much space do we have to the side of?
To the left here is quite a lot. This was all clear cut
There's
before
an
for
old,
parking.
stone wall in there, right along.
So, I mean,
where
you
the
could
lines are.
theoretically put
109, there's
a
another
tennis
gate
court on
right
that
here.
side with parking on that.
Yeah,
You could
I
go
mean,
on-
yeah.
That is definitely an idea, Brian.
So you could do that.
Right in there.
Yeah, so you could actually add tennis
It
courts kind of
also
over the back
would
here.
keep
maybe.
it less congested too. If you have,
Good
people
idea.
wanna play basketball, they can go over, park over there. If they wanna play tennis, they
Yeah.
go over there. So not everyone's clumped in one big area.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
easier to turn your car around.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. Just mark that on there so I don't forget and then just
We can do it
TC.
ourselves, but-
Yeah. Anybody have any other ideas? Obviously, some of these things we've already voted for in the
Yeah.
2019-20 budget, so,
So when you sent that email saying, you know, that we'd come up with a 5-year plan, I'm like, okay, this year is, like, this coming year is gonna be year one.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so I put the well and the things that we had already voted on to do for improvements in the next year as part of our 5-year plan.
Absolutely.
I tried really hard to come up with something to add to it so that I could not sit by quietly, but I have nothing. I feel like everything I've ever said, Carol took a mental note and
I
put it
listen
in there.
when you people talk.
The only question I had
Can you
is,
hear me?
the only question I had is the sensibility in having a metal picnic table.
What's the sense, okay, so there's a couple of things I think, and if you go to a lot of public parks, they're metal.
Well, yeah, they get that
They've got
coated
that
rubber.
coating on them, but they don't rot, they don't splinter, you know,
But you can't sit on them in the summer and they're too cold to sit on in the winter, right?
no, the ones that have the, you know what I'm talking
They're
about.
like
have a
coated, they have like
They have
a
a coating.
coating.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking it
And
was
they
gonna be like.
last a lot
Gonna do
longer.
something.
Right, no, it's not.
They last a lot longer. No, I'm not talking like the galvanized,
Right, yeah.
like the benches that we're trying to use now.
Like you have in prison.
Like you have in prison.
They actually have the same ones in prison.
Yeah, that's.
Okay. All right, great. Well, we've got a lot of things that we can talk to them about there. Just trying to think if there's anything else. The pitching machines, when you're thinking pitching machines, you're thinking like the coin slot operated things?
Yes, that was something that's on her goal for baseball.
So those are not coin
Oh,
slot
batting
operated.
cages, I'm sorry.
Okay. The batting cage that is in the, oh God, I can't think of the word. It's been a long day. in the budget for next year, the one that we'll vote on in July, this always messes with me, next year.
Yep.
Are the netting for the cages, and an actual pitching machine, but it's not coin operated. It would have to be something that someone would have to be there to operate.
Sure.
Like a coach or,
So I was wrong.
Yeah, it's like one of those you see, it goes,
I wanted one like at the mini golf place that you can go and just
I
bat and bat and
cannot
bat.
imagine with the price that I saw
It would be thousands of
for
dollars
regular,
one of
oh, probably tens of thousands.
Yeah, they're
Really?
not-
Oh,
they're expensive.
the one
One
that
was
is in our budget is like $1,500 or something
don't
crazy
even-
like
honestly-
that.
And it, yeah,
Yes.
and this was one that you and Bridget are gonna be
I
toting
don't
back
really
and
don't
forth,
think
right?
the
It's
field
not
would
really
be
toting,
wired for that much power either.
All right.
You need a lot of
Fine.
power to run it.
It's,
thought we
it's
could make some money off
like
the quotas.
wheelable. You can wheel
They
it.
steal the old ones from the old miniature golf course.
Oh, the one that's overgrown, hey.
Okay.
Good idea.
So we got a lot of things that we can talk to them about tomorrow. Now, I'm going to be there tomorrow.
I'm gonna be there.
Carol's going to be there. I don't know whether we want to just all be there if we can. There's a show of joint solidarity, or whether we should not overcrowd it.
Well, what I envisioned was that John would be our spokesperson as our chair, as long, as long as you're comfortable
I'm,
to do
I'm
that.
happy with that. Yeah, I don't
And
know.
then as many of us that could come just to support you, would be here, so that you're not standing up there alone. I know Lisa's working.
Okay.
Are you gonna be here? Can
Yeah, I
you be
can
here
work.
at 5?
Yeah, I'm working right in Eagles Trace.
Yeah, I'm gonna use
Is
an
it
hour
5,
of
is
my
it?
PTO. The meeting's at 5.
I'll pull out all the stops, but I probably won't be
She already
here.
had to call in a favor to come
Yeah.
tonight. She had to get someone to come in early.
Tomorrow
So-
morning I pay the piper.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'll kind of try to pull this together in something that I can speak about.
You can come visit me at lunch and we can discuss it.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I'll make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I'll pass. Okay, is there anything else that you would want me to bring up to the selectmen in this regard while we're on the subject? Or have we pretty much covered it?
Yours is the same thing, kind of.
The only other thing, and I personally am not of the thought process that we need trails up at the rec field, through the Garvin Road wetlands and stuff. But I know
Mentioned.
it has been mentioned repeatedly, so I don't know
Why don't we just put it in
if
there?
you want to put it in there. I put it on the list. I just feel like I can think of like a dozen trails we have in town already, but,
And the problem is then who maintains them after.
yeah, so.
Yeah,
but-
once they're cut in, you have to have somebody
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah, and it's not my thing to be up there with the pruning shears, but you never know. It's kind of like shoveling snow.
There's a hell of a lot of land up there that they could utilize, though.
It is a lot of underutilized land, let's say that.
Oh, this is just the first 5 years.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
But the reason I put the batting cages pitching machine in there is because they're larger purchases that hopefully we would have, it's not like a basketball or a baseball that's good for.
Yeah, no, I was with you. I was thinking that if we could put in one of those coin-operated
Me
things,
too,
it
I'm
would.
really disappointed about that.
But I think we
I'd
need to
love
have it in
to
there for
take my kid
100
up
years.
there,
Coin-operated batting machines, batting cages. Those things are like a fortune.
Oh, really?
That'll be on the next round.
Yeah, I think that's. You'd have to have an awful lot of foot
And your
traffic to make that
bathrooms
pay.
are down there.
Okay.
Oh, the other thing that I would like
Got a
you
lot
to
of
say,
power.
though, is the bathrooms. That's something that should be on the nearer future,
Nearer
because we have
rather
water.
than
We have that in there,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I think that's something like it's not in the budget for this year, but this year we're getting the
So-
water, next year we should be getting the bathrooms.
And then
Do
who
they
cleans
still
and
do
maintains?
like, outhouse type setups for something like this? Or does it have to be a whole
Well, we had
bathroom with
talked about a
septic?
composting toilet. We've gotten mixed reviews about that, and, I still don't know.
But what about actual outhouses? Is that something that's still
No,
No.
around?
no.
Well, there are. but
Don't they have to be
grandfathered.
composting?
Yeah.
I think so.
Right, but it's
Yes.
not necessarily a composting toilet, but actually you can, like, we have a friend that has a camp up north and they have a composting.
Yeah.
Rob's has the toilet, it's like an outhouse still and that they use outside.
So I was prepared to donate
It
the
composted,
composting.
He
but
toilet.
it's
has a
still like
composting
a-
toilet that he's prepared to donate to us, John does.
Oh,
But I don't know how much capacity that could take.
That's right.
That's what I'm.
but you can
my-
still do a compost an outhouse.
Yeah.
You're not getting an outhouse.
It's
put in
definitely
there.
something that we should put on here to, I'll put it in here.
It's either that or a
uh,
whole
To,
septic system.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're talking,
address
Cool box.
at a later date, the bathroom options. The only thing I wanted in the plan is that we're going to have some sort of a bathroom. Whether it be an outhouse, whether it be I want something other than a porta potty.
How much are
Whatever
we-
that may be.
How much are we budgeted for, ballpark off the top of your head, for 2019-20 in porta potties?
50 grand?
Over all of the,
About $700 probably, and no more, because I gotta add the ice rink into that. So about 1,000,
okay, so it's $1,000 a year that we're saving.
yeah.
It wouldn't take that many years to pay for a plumb bathroom.
Depends on, yeah, I mean, if you're
Depends on the
trying,
septic build.
Yeah, no,
Septic
sorry, I meant
system.
the,
you'd have to have a leach
No,
field.
he-
I meant a construction for the composting toilet.
Yeah, he meant the construction for the composting toilet.
oh, not a whole septic
no.
system, bathroom and everything.
No.
Yeah, because then you're talking 10.
The other thing is, the school has an irrigation system on their field, and I think that does warrant some
I
investigating
think we
for
have,
us.
did we have it?
It's
Yeah,
on
you got
here,
it.
yeah, but I think that's something that also should be mentioned, because, I'm not saying it's this year or next year, but our field really is not great,
Yeah, very soggy.
and the only way to fix that is water on a regular basis. Smoothing it out, loam, and water.
Yeah, I think the main problem with it is it's not very flat. It's just got so
No.
many holes and dips in it that the water just collects in some
Yeah.
parts and runs off the other parts. If it was flatter, it would help a lot, just that
Yeah.
on itself, but. Okay. The playground was a big one for me, I'd love to be able to see
Well, you
a
could put
jungle
that
gym in there.
Right here, if you got that building,
Is this?
playground. You run it over in here,
Oh, yeah.
shady.
There is a shady nook there.
Oh, that'd be nice.
By the building, that you could put a playground.
Yeah.
There's also the other side of the parking lot where we were talking about the tennis courts, there'd be some space over
Sure.
there for one,
Okay. Right, okay, well, I'll do my best tomorrow to make them see sense. So, if everybody's in agreement with this capital improvement plan over the next 5 years, I'd take a motion on it to move forward tomorrow with it.
Second,
I have to take.
I make a motion to, use this capital improvement plan as the draft to move forward, because, I'll stop there,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can
I'll second.
thank you.
All those in favor? Okay. We've kind of already covered point 7, which was just the selectmen meeting. Date of the next meeting is, just getting it down, Wednesday 20th. Does that look right to people?
Yes,
So it's going to be Wednesday 20th at 6 PM, right?
Yep.
Okay. Right, we have that down.
I knew that date was in my head for a reason.
Any other business? Anybody want to?
Oh, I spoke to I don't know if you saw my comment
Oh, I
on the
did.
email. My uncle is a president for the Kiwanis, and he knows the man at the Nassau Center
Mhm.
very well. So he's gonna be speaking to him on Wednesday. and
I don't know
see-
whether everybody else saw this, but.
I didn't.
Yeah, the Nassau is ripping up the basketball court because they say it's worn out. And I've been in there and it may be worn out to them, but to us it would probably be like a new floor. And my thought was if we're doing something with that building and we were looking for a floor, they've got a great big whole lot of wood that's coming out of there.
When you,
What-
I'm not familiar with,
What he said is they're just raising funds now at the Nassau Center for that. They
Okay.
don't have the funds as of now, so it's not like it's something that's,
Right, okay.
they're doing within, you know, a couple of months, so. John had asked if anyone knew anyone, so that's the only person I could reach out to. So he's supposed to get back to me on Wednesday, so.
All right, perfect.
What's left of it when they rip it out?
Who
that's
knows?
what
Yeah,
that was
I
what
don't
I
know.
was just gonna say, I'm not an expert, I don't know how.
I don't know.
Although I have seen it, that kind of basketball flooring sold before.
Yeah.
I've seen packages of it being
So from
sold.
taken up in pieces versus like the strips.
Yeah, I think it was actually sold in the strips. They actually took it out piece by piece and they resold it,
Still
so.
something to look into, so.
I figure it's certainly gonna be cheaper than putting in a brand-new floor of our own if we wanted to do that.
Agreed.
Some lost, but not a lot when you rip out a floor.
Okay, well, if there's no other business, I would move that we close up and reconvene on the 20th at 6 PM.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.